I've also been experiencing Zelda sort of through my girlfriend Caroline, who has been playing Zelda Link Between Worlds. So she's
The
about
first
five.
Zelda that we talked about on this
The
podcast,
very
because
first one, way back in November 2013, which
yeah,
is a very long time ago now.
oh god,
Um, so I was playing, and I am in the middle, I guess, of playing Majora's Mask 3D, and Caroline sort of saw it and thought, oh, I fancy playing some Zelda. So she was keen to initially start with Majora's Mask, and
nope.
I was like, you can play Majora's Mask, but I'd highly recommend playing one of these other Zeldas first, because Majora's Mask, it's not really traditional Zelda. I think it's a lot tougher than a lot of the other Zeldas, and I just don't think it's a very good starting point.
Yeah, it's very confusing. It's weird. It doesn't really. I think, especially for like newer players, it's not very inviting as a game. You know, it kind of does. It demands a lot of you, essentially.
Right. So we settled with Link Between Worlds, and it was good because with the Switch coming out, my 3DS has a lot more alone time, so my 3D I could lend my 3DS to her,
Uh huh.
and she can just play Link Between Worlds wherever she goes. So she's 5 dungeons in at the moment, and she hasn't used the guide once actually, which
Very
is
impressive. Yeah.
for going in blind into like a Zelda game, having never played a Zelda game before, I think is really impressive. So that's sort of where she is so far, and it's really interesting just watching her tackle puzzles and like go about a Zelda game because
It's almost like learning a new language, right?
exactly, because
Because
Zelda is like
not
a
having that
language.
experience is
You're we go when we go into Link Between Worlds, having beaten most of the Zeldas before it, we come in with an idea of how Zelda puzzles work, how Zelda dungeon structure works,
you know what all the
how
items are, you know what their function is, all
right
that kind
we
of stuff.
exactly where she's going in completely blind, seeing switches and bomb switches and doors and maps and like just it's quite a lot and like the way that she's just understood. Well, first of all, she really hates looking at the map. She likes just like working it out herself, and I'm just like, the map helps you. You should use the
It's
map.
it's a tool, yeah. You need to
Yeah,
use
and
it.
and like so for the first 3 dungeons in Link Between Worlds, it was fine without a map, and those are
Right,
pretty
they're
easy to
very easy,
remember.
especially the
Right.
tower because it's a very tight area. Like the rooms are very small. It's just an elevation game where you're like
Right.
hitting the switches to like ping you up to the top and stuff. I really like that dungeon, but it definitely has a very more simple, streamlined feel to it.
But as like she's getting further and like the toughest dungeon she's done so far is the dark and light dungeon in the east of Lorule. I believe it's called the something Eastern Palace or something. I can't remember.
I don't
Um,
remember.
it's considerably tougher because you're destroying planks of wood and breakable rocks throughout that dungeon to let in light into these panels
Right.
on right outside the boss room, essentially that open the gate that let you access the boss door. So using maps and stuff and like understanding the structure of that dungeon becomes far more important. So some of those things became a bit tougher, perhaps, but
Sure, yeah.
she's getting there. She's enjoying it. And, like
That's
she's just,
great,
she
yeah.
in Paris. She was just in Paris doing the Paris Marathon the other weekend while I was in the States, and then I get like this message from her where it's just a picture of her on the train back to Brussels with like her beer and her marathon medal and, and and just a 3DS just on the train, just open playing Link Between Worlds. I was like, wow, you actually brought it with you because I didn't even think she was gonna bring it with her, but yeah,
Yeah,
she's actually enjoying it and like
that's
it's
great.
going well. So I think that I think there are tougher dungeons to come, but overall I think it's a great learning experience as to like what it's the fundamentals of Zelda broken down into like a really quite a fast-paced Zelda that's not overly obscure and not overly challenging, but still gives you the fundamentals, which is good.
Yeah, it's probably I would say the best starting point for if you want to get
Definitely.
into the series, like, and that's coming from someone who isn't the biggest fan of the 2D entries, but I think that game, with the mechanic of painting on a wall, it interestingly leans into the 3D design in that 2D world.
And like
So I think it gives you a good perspective.
I was just battling some enemies on Breath of the Wild, obviously in a 3D world, and Caroline was like, "Oh, when I'm watching you play this, I want to just jump into the wall and like avoid those enemies because that's like a really standard technique in Link
Right.
Between Worlds when there's a lot of enemies and you just need a break and to get away from them. You just go into the wall and sidle away, and so it's jarring, almost a bit like the way that you've described playing Wind Waker after Breath of the Wild is
Yes.
quite jarring. All Zeldas, while they have this theme running throughout them, they can be very jarring, swapping between them, or at least attempting to do it seamlessly. So
Totally. Yeah.
yeah. So she's
Well,
got another, I guess, 6 dungeons left of that game, and I'm sure
okay.
I'll
Cool.
drop in and see how she's doing by the end of that game. But yeah, like I said, I'll
Sure.
try and beat something a bit smaller for next time and can not bore you with just pure Zelda chat. But MBZ, I
Look,
hear
I'm
you.
not sure. I'm not sure people ever get bored with Zelda chat. If I'm honest, you know.
I mean, yeah, we're a Nintendo podcast. That's what you're here for.
If you enjoyed this discussion and would like to hear more, consider subscribing to us on YouTube and following the podcast playlist. You can also find us on iTunes and various other places. Follow us on Twitter at TNL Podcast and email us thisnintendolife@gmail.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.